Germany, a country whose past is impossible to remember and impossible to forget. This is a story of guilt and glory. From the adventures of the Red Baron and the invention of the Zeppelin to the rise and fall of the German war machine, a war machine made from blood and iron. Monday at 8 Eastern, 9 Pacific on the History Channel.
The History Channel returns to the political and military might of the cartoon in Cartoons Go to War.
Private Snafu was a part of the Army-Navy Screen Magazine system, and this was a cartoon done to teach lessons. Now, training films of the day were pretty dry and pretty mundane, really. They didn't do much to keep the person's interest, unfortunately. But one way to take care of that and to alleviate that monotony was to have these cartoons come along, which very graphically and very simply told a lesson. And anybody, no matter what capability of learning, could see one of these and understand what it meant. And they were very successful.
So they fooled around a lot, and they finally came up with the character Snafu, the name, which means situation, normal, all fouled up. Actually started with F, it wasn't fouled up, and those are the so that was a name the soldiers were aware of and knew well, like grunt.
I just learned a secret. It's a honey, it's a pip. But the enemy is listening, so I'll never let it slip. Cause when I learn a secret, boy, I zipper up my lip. Now the military secret that I carry in my brain, I keep in safe deposit with a padlock and chain. You bet I got a secret.
When Snafu first started, Frank Capra had the idea. He was the guy who put together Army-Navy Screen Magazine for the Armed Forces. And he had an idea. He loved animation. He loved Walt Disney. Is that why not use Walt to develop a character who's the typical soldier? So we can use that character to teach these guys various things about being in the Army, various educational things. So Walt's crew tried to develop Snafu. And they even went so far as to storyboard the entire first episode called Introducing Snafu. And they had a lot of development cost in it. And I think they bid $101 a foot, somewhere in there. Well, Leon Schlesinger came along and counterbid Disney. He bid $20 a foot, including story development costs. And Walt's bid was $101 just for the animation, not including development. So when the Army saw that, you know, 3 guesses as to who got the job.
All comedy is based on human behavior, or it wouldn't be funny to you. I mean, for instance, they say the difference between a comedy and a tragedy is to who is slipping on the banana peel. If it's you, it's a tragedy. If it's somebody else, it's comedy. But Snafu wasn't a bad soldier because he was stupid. He was a bad soldier because he was lazy, because he didn't believe in the things. He thought he was wiser than they were, like Daffy Duck. And Daffy Duck, as somebody said about Daffy, is that Bugs talks, but Daffy talks too much.
Hey, give me some magazines to read for when I'm on the ship. Don't breathe a word to no one, but he's going to go by ship. It's a cinch to keep a secret if a fella just takes care. He's sailing on a troop ship now, we got to find out where. I'm a sound and silent soldier, just as steady as a rock. Here's to my little secret, with its chain and padlock. Hello, baby. Hiya. Say you're a lefty trick. I hope I'll meet some days.
A good many of the Snafu cartoons are not so much what we are fighting for, but they are more or less a primer of proper military behavior for the troops.
It's been a wonderful evening, and I'd like to stay
The Snafus were aimed at a military audience, and basically it was to explain to them the reason behind what may have seemed to them to be stupid little requirements or regulations, and they tried to place those in a larger context. And by doing it in cartoon fashion, for example, the Snafu cartoon Rumors, you don't think that people talking to each other on a base would have an adverse effect on the war effort. Well, in the Snafu cartoon Rumors, it is blown up so greatly that it is hugely exaggerated. I'm sure that the soldiers who were watching that said, well, that'll never really happen here, but maybe it made them think a little bit before they went out and started throwing the baloney.
What's new?
Oh, nothing much. Nice day.
Nice day for a bombing.
Yeah, nice bombing weather. Bombing weather. Bombing weather.
Sounds harmless enough. Innocent stuff. But let's take a look in and find out what's cooking.
Bombing weather. Bombing weather. Bombing weather. Bombing weather. Bombing weather. Just between you and me, pal, I hear we're in for a bombing.
Ted Geisel wrote the first 3 Snafus, Gripes and Rumors and Coming Snafu, I think, was the first ones he wrote. And it's something, he shoots off his face and baloney is flying all over the place. And that sounds like a Dr. Seuss rhyme. And after that, he said he lost interest in the character. And he was just there to supervise, and he let other people do the writing. And after that, that rhyming style kind of drops out. And that's where they get the Hope Benny kind of gags.
Balloon juice. It's phony, but it makes nice baloney. That's right. Exaggerate it. Stretch it. Multiply it. Now shoot off your face. And baloney is flying all over the place.
In Germany. Worst air raid of the war. Yeah. They blasted hell out of Brooklyn Bridge.
The most important part of the process was probably the story meetings, you know, because they had to be ironed out with Ted Geisel, who was the head of story on Snafu, and the people from the Army had to be involved because they had to look at all the storyboards to see if all their points were being made. And then the story men had to contribute gags. They even hired some of Bob Hope's gag writers. And after the story was done, then the director, Chuck or Bob or Frank Tashlin or whoever did it, would sit down and make layout sketches.
This may surprise you, but they're attacking this very camp.
We probably did 2 of them a month. That is, I mean, from the time you started until you finished, it would be longer, of course. But we'd put 2 of them a month, I think, into production, and which wasn't terribly unusual because our normal schedule for a 6-minute cartoon was 1 every 10 weeks. There are 3 units doing 10 pictures a year, so there are 30 pictures coming out. At Disney's probably would have driven them crazy. At us, it was normal procedure.
While I was still at Leon Schlesinger's, we found out we were going to do some training films called Snafus. And for that, all of us had to be fingerprinted and classified. They would go to our neighbors and ask questions about us to see if we were loyal Americans. And one girl did not pass. Her husband, they found out, was a Nazi sympathizer, and so she couldn't get clearance. But the rest of us were all cleared. We had to wear badges with our names on it. And the funny thing is, when they gave us this work to do, they would only give us 10 cells at a time so that we would know what was going on in the cartoon. But you couldn't tell when you were painting something actually what was going on until you saw it on the screen. And we never did see them, of course. They never showed them to us. And when I saw them, let's say about 10, 15 years ago, I couldn't believe that the work we had done was so mild and so, well, it was just nothing, really. It was, I mean, it wouldn't have mattered if we had known what was going on. But that's the way things were then.
Cartoons Go to War will continue in a moment.
I keep reading about them.
That were all in black and white. We used gray tones. And they started with white and went all the way up to 29. And we used different shades so that it would compensate. The film, would look smooth.
9.5, Benny. 9.5, Charlie. Benny. Charlie. Charlie, Benny. Charlie, Benny. Shoes! Shoes! Shoes!
Right after the story was done, the dialogue was approved, everything was set to go, and the director would start layout. At that same time, they would be recording. And the director would direct the voice actor, Mel Blanc, Arthur Lake, who did the voice of Hook, or whatever actor.